Well, we are about halfway through 2024, and by this time of year, most people have given up on their goals, which is fine. But if you still have a goal of buying a new construction house this year, then you'll want to stick around, because today I'm going to be sharing a ton of information on how to buy a new construction home right here in San Antonio this year. But before we get started and dive into that, my name is Brock.Bremmer. I'm a real estate agent right here in San Antonio, Texas, and I help folks just like you buy and sell homes all over San Antonio and the surrounding areas. So if you're looking to buy a house this year, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. All of my contact information is down below for you in the description, and I would love to help you and your family make a smooth move right here in San Antonio. So please do not hesitate to reach out. But let's go ahead and dive on into today's topic, which again is going to be covering all of the things that you need to know about buying a new construction house. Well, the first thing I want to touch on here is, of course, probably one of the more important items to consider, and that's just identifying an area of town that you want to be in. Now, San Antonio is the 7th largest city in the nation, so you can imagine being number 7, we are a pretty big city, and it's growing just about every single day. There is a ton of growth happening all over the area, and if you're looking for a new construction house, you're going to have to look towards the outer skirts, the suburbs of San Antonio, because as San Antonio has grown over the years, it started in the center where downtown area is, and it's just been expanding over the decades, and the only area to build a large number of new construction homes is on the outer perimeter of San Antonio. So if you are looking for new construction, you can find some downtown. They're not going to be from the big builders, the common builders that you see here on the channel. They're going to be private custom home builders, so that's going to be downtown. But if you're looking for a lot of the homes that I share here on the channel, you're going to have to look out towards the outskirts of San Antonio. And while you're doing this, you want to keep a few things in mind here, right? You want to keep your family's needs and wants in mind here, right? And what I mean by this is, if you are looking to relocate to San Antonio to be close to a new job opportunity that you've taken, you want to make sure that you're living on the right area of town, because driving 45 minutes to an hour every morning and afternoon in the rush hour traffic is going to get tired pretty quickly. And so you want to make sure you're in the right area of town. Another thing to consider is just the amenities of the neighborhood itself, right? If you have a family and you want a playground and a pool in your community, not every single neighborhood offers that, but there are plenty of them that do. If you are one of those individuals who are looking for great schools because you have kids, that is another thing to keep in mind, and do your due diligence on researching the school districts as well as the individual schools themselves to make sure that you are comfortable with those schools and school districts and they're meeting your family's needs and desires there. Now, another small detail you might want to consider is just, does the neighborhood have a gated entrance or not? A lot of communities around here, unfortunately, do not have gated communities. However, they are not uncommon either. It's just more common to see a community that doesn't have a gate on it, right? Maybe you're moving here to be closer to friends or family, so you might want to keep their location in mind as well if you're looking to be closer to them on a more frequent basis, because again, the traffic around here is horrendous, and you could be spending 30, 45, even 60 minutes driving one direction, especially with the traffic around San Antonio and the construction that's happening all over the roads and highways around here. So please keep all of those in mind. They are all very important things to consider, especially when purchasing a house for yourself. Now, the next thing I want to cover is just setting some realistic expectations for finding a house here in San Antonio. Now, a lot of folks are moving here to San Antonio because they see and hear that it is a more affordable place to live, especially when it comes to purchasing a house. And that is very true. It is a much lower cost, especially when you compare it to some of the other major metro areas that I mentioned at the beginning of this video. So there are some great affordable options here in San Antonio. However, please don't think that you can find a 4 or 5 bedroom house that's 3,000 square feet with a 3 or 4 car garage on a half acre for about $275,000, because unfortunately that is just not how things work around here. To find a house similar to that, you're going to have to look in the upper or higher price range at some of the more luxury builders, or even a custom builder, to find exactly that. And that's not to say that you can't find a 3 or 4 bedroom house at 3,000 square feet for, the low 300s or high 200s. It just really depends on the builder, the location, and a few other things there. So just please keep in mind to have some realistic expectations and do your research. I have a ton of videos here on the channel that cover all kinds of different builders as well as price ranges and different areas around San Antonio. So please go ahead and check those out and look at some of those videos for yourself. Now, another thing I want to touch on here is just the timeline of things. It's a timeline timeline from you purchasing a house as well as timeline for construction. Now, right now, a lot of the builders here in the San Antonio area have a bunch of inventory homes available for sale, meaning they have a bunch of homes that are 100% complete with construction and they are ready for families to move into them. Now, even though I say quick close and they are done with construction, usually it still takes about 30 to 45 days for all of the financing stuff to go through. So usually it's about 30 to 45 days before you can move into a home. So it's not going to be immediate unless you are purchasing with cash, of course. Then you can usually do about 2 weeks. So those can be the quickest that you could typically move into a house if you are ready to go. Now, there are some mid-range homes that are in like the later phases of construction and don't have but maybe 3 or 4 months left to go. And then if you are building from the ground up with a builder, I would expect it to take anywhere from 4 to 6 months, maybe even 8 or 10 months, depending on the builder and the level of customization that is going on with these homes. Now, that I'd say that just so you have a solid understanding that could be anywhere from 30 days to probably 9-10 months before you can find a new construction house. And I just want you to keep that in mind because some people are like, hey Brock, I need a house like yesterday. And of course there are various timelines with things, and a builder may or may not have exactly what you're looking for. Other things that may influence your timeline is of course your job relocation. So if you are taking a job and you need to be here in like 2 weeks, you may not be able to buy a new construction house, or any house for that matter, right away because of the time that it takes for things to happen and process with all the paperwork on the back end of everything. But if you know that you have 3, 4, 5 months out, then you have a much wider range of options available for you because builders will have more things in the works being built at various stages. So you'll have a better chance at finding more exactly what you want and need for your family. Now, if you're also, a first-time home buyer, or you are currently in a position where you are leasing a house or an apartment, please keep in mind the expiration of that lease, right? And while we're talking about these kind of timelines here, it's always good to kind of plan backwards. So if you know, hey, in 6 months my lease is up, and hey, it takes at least 30 to 45 days to close on a house, then hey, maybe we should start the home search process, 2, 3, 4 months out so that you can start getting a solid idea of what's out there. Maybe you can find that house that is just beginning with construction or about halfway through, and you can go ahead and go through the process of securing that property so that when it is complete with construction, you have a brand new house that is just finished up and you still are not in a position to have to rush and find the place as well as move as well. So there's a lot of moving parts in this process, and so I just want you to be mindful that you can take your time and you can plan backwards in most cases. So if you do have the ability to plan, let's go ahead and get that process started sooner rather than later so that you don't have to feel rushed and or finding a place to temporarily live while your house is being built. Now, the next thing I want to talk about with you is the financial planning and budgeting side of buying a house. Now, whether you're buying a house by yourself or with someone else, whether it's a spouse, a partner, a friend, or family member, you definitely want to have a realistic conversation with that person about their budget and what you guys are all comfortable with spending on your budget. For instance, if you both know that spending about $3,000 per month on a mortgage is out of your range and your budget, then you definitely want to make sure that you guys are on the same page, because that is going to kind of determine where you guys are comfortable at, and of course the affordability and the price of the house that you guys would like to purchase. Now, if you need help with that, of course there are lenders out there. You can use all sorts of online calculators as well to get a solid understanding and idea of what you may be able to afford, but a lender is the best bet on how to figure out that affordability and what you can afford there. And while you're having this candid conversation with yourself or with that other person you're purchasing a house with, you definitely want to start looking at your expenses and your income and just your financial picture overall, and really understand where all your expenses are, how much income you're making. Look at your credit score, see if there's any adjustments or anything you can do to help improve your credit score if needed. So there are a number of things to start looking at, and if you have the ability to plan this out ahead of time, you can really be ahead of the game and really set yourself up for success down the road, especially knowing that you have several months or however long it may be to kind of work towards saving up some money, boosting your credit score, or building up some savings there so that you can have a solid financial picture whenever you're going to purchase this house. Now, another thing you want to consider here as well is the financing options available. So when you're having this conversation about your financials and your budgeting and all of that fun stuff that we're already covering here, keep in mind and talk about the different financing options that are out there. Now, of course, you may not know exactly what those are, but a lender who we're about to talk about very shortly, can help you kind of pick and choose and look at the pros and cons. But you can also do some research on your own to look at the different loan types: conventional loans, FHA loans, USDA. If you're a veteran or active military, you can look at the VA loan as well. If you're a physician, there's a physician loan as well. All of them have different down payment requirements. Some of them have extra costs to include private mortgage insurance in there. So you'll definitely want to take a look at those, because the amount of money required for your down payment is different in each of those. So you definitely want to make sure that you are choosing the loan type that best fits your needs as well as your ability on the financial side. Now, while we're talking about some down payments here, you're also going to keep in mind that you're going to need some closing costs in a lot of cases in order to purchase this new house. Now, closing costs can range anywhere from 1% up to 3% of the purchase price of the house. This can include homeowner's insurance that you need to pay for. Typically, they take the first year plus some days as well to make sure you're ahead of the game. You also may have some taxes to pay out of pocket just to get that escrow account funded. And there may be other things such as lender fees and stuff like that included as well. The lender will give you your total closing costs a few days before closing so that you'll know exactly how much you need. However, in some cases, you may not have to worry about the closing costs, and we'll touch on that here in the sentence coming up. But it's always best to prepare for some closing costs that you may need to pay out of pocket in addition to that down payment. And while we're talking about these two things, whenever it does come down to closing day, you'll want to make sure that these funds are easily accessible. And what I mean by this is the title company unfortunately does not accept cash. So if you have money stored away under your mattress or in a safe somewhere, they will not accept it. You will definitely need to have it in a bank account that's easily accessible. And if you're using funds from like a 401k or another retirement account, definitely make sure that you go through that process ahead of time to get that cash withdrawn and into a checking or savings account, just so that it's easily accessible and you're not having to deal with that on closing day, because that can and will delay things if that's not easily accessible. Now, before we even get to closing day, there may be some other upfront costs that you have to prepare for and plan for. Some of these things are earnest money deposits. Now, in a lot of cases, the home builders do require an earnest money deposit to take the home off the market and put it under contract, which is what you guys want, right? I have seen some home builders go as low as $500 for earnest money deposit, and I've seen others go up to $5,000 for the earnest money deposit. And that amount that they require for the earnest money deposit really just depends on the builder, and sometimes it can change. Like I've seen one builder in particular, at one time they had a $5,000 minimum earnest money deposit, and then I've seen them recently reduce that down to $3,000 earnest money deposit. So it really just depends, but it's best to know and keep that in mind that you may have to have a few $1,000s to even secure that property and take it off the market and put it under contract into your name. Now, another thing you may also want to plan for before closing day is something such as a third-party inspection. Now, these third-party inspections are of course optional and you do not have to pay for them, but they are always highly recommended to do so. And sometimes these can cost anywhere between $400 and $600 per inspection. And if you're early enough in the construction process, you can have up to 3 different phase inspections. The phase 1 inspection is right before they pour the concrete for the foundation, and then the second phase inspection is right before they put up the drywall, and then of course the final phase inspection is once the house is complete with construction, usually about 1 week to 2 weeks before you close on the house. So there can be up to 3 of those inspections depending on how early in the process you purchase that house and put it under contract. So just keep that in mind, that if you are looking to do 1 or all 3 of those inspections if allowed, then you'll want to have anywhere between $400 to $600 per inspection there. So definitely keep some extra money on hand if you are planning to do those. Again, those are highly recommended, but inspections are definitely optional. And in some cases, when you're looking at some of these custom builders, sometimes they may require different amounts of earnest money deposits whenever you get to various phases of the construction process, especially if you are able to choose a lot of the design options and features for your home. All right, the next thing I want to talk about is working with a lender in the process. Now, in most cases, you are going to be using a lender to secure a loan in order to purchase the property. And working with the lender is going to be a crucial and vital part of the entire process once you're under contract for a house. But before you even go under contract, it's best to speak with the lender so that you can get a pre-approval from them. With this pre-approval, again, they're going to look at all of your income. They're going to look at all of your debts, your credit score. If you have another person or multiple people on the loan with you, they're also going to be looked at, and they're going to figure out a maximum amount that you are able to purchase the house for. And with this amount, you know exactly what you are able to afford. So having this purchasing power in mind, knowing that you have a certain maximum, really allows you to know what you're looking for as far as the price of a home whenever you are out there shopping and looking for a new house. Now, in a lot of cases, these builders are going to be giving some great incentives, but in order to take advantage of these incentives, they're going to be pushing you to work with their preferred lenders. And sometimes these preferred lenders are in-house lenders with the builder. Other times they are third party and external from the builder. Now, it's always highly encouraged to work with their preferred lenders to take advantage of these incentives, because their incentives can be anything from interest rate buy down, so you can get a much lower rate than you can find elsewhere. Sometimes they're covering part, if not all, of your closing costs, so you won't have to worry about any of those closing costs that we just discussed. Other times they are offering free appliances, whether it's a refrigerator, sometimes they're offering blinds, a sprinkler system, and other things like that. So there can be some really good incentives out there if you use a preferred lender. Now, sometimes you can negotiate these incentives to be included even if you don't use a preferred lender, but it's not always the case, and it can be very difficult to do that. So it is always best and recommended to, again, use the preferred lender so you can take advantage of all of their incentives that they're offering at that time. Now, these incentives too, I will say, change on a weekly basis in most cases, and they definitely change on a month-to-month basis. So what you see today at a builder may not be there next week or even especially next month. Now, for some reason you are working with a lender, whether it's the builder's preferred lender or your own chosen lender, and you decide to switch halfway through, that can spell a disaster for you, and that can mean a lot of delays, especially on closing on the house on time. So it is best to kind of choose a lender at the very beginning and stick with that lender throughout the process. Now, you can switch lenders if you really want to or need to for whatever reason. However, again, those delays can happen, and they most likely will happen, especially if you're much closer to completion of the construction of the house. And you definitely want to keep in mind your own timeline. So again, if you have to be in San Antonio by a certain time for your new job or for any other reason there, right? You definitely want to keep those timelines in mind, because again, that will push the timeline of closing out, and it could cause delays for you moving to San Antonio and moving into your new house. The next thing I want to talk about in the process of buying a new house is making sure to hire a real estate agent to help you out. Now, you shouldn't just hire any real estate agent out there. You want to make sure that the one you hire is well-versed and knowledgeable in the new construction space. I personally have helped numerous families purchase new construction homes all over San Antonio and the surrounding areas, and have even purchased a couple of them for myself. So if you need help in the San Antonio area, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. All of my contact information is down below. Now, a lot of people also tend to think that by not having a realtor with them on the new construction side, that they'll save some money when they purchase a house. They think that these builders will give them some special discount for not bringing a realtor with them, but that couldn't be further from the truth. These builders do not care if you have a realtor with you or not, and they're going to sell the same house to you without regard to that agent being there or not. But some benefits of having a real estate agent with you and hired for you is that you're going to have some representation. When you go to these offices, the sales offices, these salespeople, they represent the builder. So they have the builder's best interest in mind, and they're making sure that everything is in line for the builder, and they're trying to maximize the profits over there. However, when you hire a real estate agent, we have a fiduciary obligation and duty to you as our client to make sure that you have the best representation possible and you have a voice in the matter, right? So we are there to help advocate for you. We're there to help negotiate the different incentives and sales prices as well. So being able to have a realtor on your side and know the process, know about what we can do on the incentives as well as the sales price. It is very important and imperative that you have a real estate agent there to help you throughout that part of the process. In addition, we are experts in the real estate space, especially someone who understands the new construction space. We know that sometimes these builders have a lower price that they can go to, and they typically will give us a much better deal if we can negotiate that for you. So we know that these builders will go above and beyond if we have a real estate agent to help and negotiate on your behalf. In addition, we help be a liaison between the sales rep, the construction manager, the lender, and make sure that you are knowledgeable and up to date on the next process and the next steps of the process. We help educate on that as well. And then we also attend all of those meetings like the blue tape walk and the closing date with you, so that you are accompanied and you have someone with an expert opinion, expert advice as well there to help guide you through that entire process. And sometimes you as the buyer are worried about having to pay a realtor fee, well, these builders actually pay that fee, so there's no additional cost, no out of money expense for you. So there's no extra out of pocket cost for you to utilize us and hire us as your real estate agent on these new construction homes. So we are about halfway through 2024, and at the beginning of this year, there was a lot of expectations, a lot of predictions, a lot of people thinking that the feds were going to be cutting the federal interest rate up to, I think, 4 or maybe 6 times throughout the year, and so far they haven't cut it at all. The last Fed meeting that I saw, they're planning on maybe 1 rate cut sometime this year. At the time of this video, a lot of the interest rates across the nation are in the low to mid 7% range. However, a lot of the builders here in the San Antonio area have been advertising interest rates in the mid to high 4s, for a fixed 30-year mortgage rate there. So these builders are really doing a lot to buy down interest rates and help make it much more affordable in order to buy one of their houses. So I really think that looking at new construction is probably the better option for a lot of people out there. Not only are you getting a brand new house, you're also getting a warranty. You can take advantage of the incentives and a much lower interest rate in a lot of cases. For example, I just helped a family go under contract for a new construction house a few weeks ago. We got them an interest rate below 5%. The builder is covering all of their closing costs, and they're using a VA home loan because they are military folks. So they're not having to put a down payment. So they're literally buying a brand new house with no money out of pocket. Now, that's not going to be the case for everyone, unfortunately, but there are some great deals out there. I know a few months ago, I helped another family. We got $60,000 off the sales price, plus we got them, I believe, $10,000 towards their closing costs. So we got a tremendous amount of savings there. But there is a number of things we can do on the new construction space. So for this space, there is a lot more inventory on the new home side. I know back in 2021, there was a lot of competition on the new construction space, and there was a lot of builders that were having an interest list. So they would sell, 5-6 homes a month, and then that's all they sold for the month because that's all they could do at the time. And then they would just build an interest list, and they would just go through the list as they had more homes available. Here in 2024, and I think for the next several months, next 6 months or so, we're going to be seeing this inventory level continue to increase. A lot of these builders, again, have homes that are complete with construction and ready to move in, and they're still building more. So I don't think we're going to have the crazy competition that we saw a couple of years ago. However, I do think that now, because we are in the summer months, we are going to see the competition rise just a little bit, because that is just the normal cycle of real estate. There's a lot more people looking to buy here in the summer versus in the winter months. So if you are looking to save some money, typically some really good deals happen in the fall and winter time. So those are usually the good deal time there. But yeah, I really do think that new construction is kind of the better way to go right now. All right, y'all, I know this was a longer video than some of the other videos here on the channel, but I hope you found it useful. I hope you really have a solid understanding of the process there. And so a couple things for you to keep in mind here. If you are looking to buy a new construction house anytime in the near future, please do your research and look into the builders as much as possible. Not all of the builders are the same, and they are building all over the place. They're offering different incentives all the time. So please, reach out to me for the latest updates and information on these builders. I'd be more than happy to share that information with you, but also just do your due diligence online and research those builders before, you make that purchase and just dive into the first one you see. And also, please keep in mind, if you are wanting to go look at these homes, please do not go by yourself. Give me that phone call or an email, and I'd be more than happy to go out there and look at these new construction homes with you. One, I love looking at homes, and two, I want to make sure that you have the best representation from the very beginning of the process, right? So before you even head out there to these new construction homes and looking at those model homes, give me that phone call, send me an email, give me a text, whichever is your preferred way of communicating. I'd be more than happy, again, to set up that time and go out there with you. And if you do have some plans to buy a new house in the near future, please drop a comment down below with any questions you have. Let me know your timeline. I'd be more than happy to answer any of your questions, and of course, help you kind of plan out that process, because again, there are a lot of moving parts, a lot of things to consider. So I'd love to hear it down below in the comment section. But if you found this video useful, go ahead and give me a like on the video, and please do not forget to subscribe to the channel as well. That helps motivate me to keep making videos like this and make sure that you guys have the most up-to-date information, as well as share some beautiful homes, because there are a lot of new home tours already on the channel for you guys to check out. But with that, thank you for your time today. I hope you have an incredible day. And if you are, again, ready to go look for that house, do not hesitate to give me a phone call, shoot me a text, send me an email. All that contact information is down below for you. And I'd be more than happy to help you and your family make that smooth move right here in San Antonio, Texas. So with that, thank you one last time. I hope you have an incredible day, and I can't wait to talk to you guys soon.